At last, evil fills the whole podcast. The spirits ask you all to choose the horror films your hosts would view. Now Carter, Doge, and Jordan must satiate the monster's bloodlust. Their reckoning is overdue in the horror of Chunktober II.
Boo! And welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk. Ooh. You're at our doorstep, and I love your costume. Squid Game, so original.
I love it. I love it.
I never thought anybody would dress like that.
You're a Joker? No way. That's crazy.
Wow,
I've never seen one of them. You dressed up as it all by yourself? What?
What's your favorite Halloween costume from when you were a kid?
Still suit? Wow.
Favorite Halloween costume from when I was a kid?
Yeah.
Favorite Halloween costume when I was a kid? Obi-Wan Kenobi.
You were Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah, sprung for the, not expensive, but it had it was like a couple of different pieces, like textured, like his tunic from Star Wars Episode 2. Wow. The following year, I wore the same tunic, but a Yoda mask. And I got a foot-long chili cheese dog from Sonic because I was hungry and then got so hot in my Yoda mask that I threw it up.
Yes.
Mask off, right?
Mask off, yeah.
Okay,
no,
good.
mask off, yeah. Can you imagine if it's just coming out the little hole like Play-Doh hair?
That's some thick throw up.
It was a chili cheese dog, man. What can I say? There's chili and cheese on that dog.
My favorite was I was Elvis one year, and it was my mom's chemo wig that I was wearing. And I won like a school competition, like at a pep rally as a fifth grader.
I love that.
With my mom's chemo wig on. It's one of the first truly immersive roles I've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really, you always carry that little piece of the king.
So much that I would end up having a role in like the kindergartner. Mind you, I'm a fifth grader at this point, in the kindergartner's Christmas pageant at the school. They were like, what if we did an Elvis Christmas song and had him bring him back? It was a callback, y'all.
Incredible.
I was getting deals everywhere. It was a big deal in our town.
Wow.
Honestly, very good. I was Link from The Legend of Zelda.
Yes.
And I tried to spray dye my hair blonde and it turned green because I have very dark hair. And my friend's mom made my tunic and hat for me. And
it was green.
She put a weight, like a ball-bearing weight soda into the top of the hat so it would fall right.
So it would stay flat?
Yeah, so it would way down. And I couldn't find a master sword, so I just had like a generic toy sword.
Yeah.
And I had on two belts. I had a belt around the tunic and then a belt over my shoulder, like the bandolier thing that he has to hold the sword, the sheath rather. And then couldn't find a Hylian shield, obviously, so I just had like a generic plastic shield. So I just sort of looked like Link, kinda.
You were Lonk. You were dollar store Link.
I'm also pretty sure I had on cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It was a very piecemeal costume.
But as a kid, though,
gosh,
you're just
dude,
like,
I was
am
Link.
Yeah.
I was Link.
Totally.
100%. It was a great year for
That's
Halloween
awesome.
that year. I loved it so much. I hope all of you listening are having a wonderful Halloween. We decided to
Link,
secret
Elvis,
drop.
and Yoda on the podcast today.
Obi-Wan. It tracks, honestly. We decided to drop this special episode, and I'm gonna part the curtain here. I had two reasons for suggesting this. Number one, and most importantly, because it is truly something to talk about worthy of conversation. Like this, this series that we're going to talk about in this episode is...
Wait, we didn't say our names. Is that important? That's not important. You don't say your name when you're trick-or-treating. I'm Doge.
I'm Carter.
And this is a worthy conversation because it is, we'll get into it, opinions, but this is like a horror behemoth here. Worthy of conversation for sure, in my opinion. But the other reason is, selfishly, I love this so much and I saw my opportunity to force my friends to watch something that I really like. So I jumped on it. I jumped all over it. And I think we're going to have some spicy discussion today based on some Slack messages that have been coming through.
That is true.
But today, for our Halloween bonus episode that everybody gets, the
surprise.
Special, it's a leak. There's been a leak in reality and everybody's getting this special Halloween episode. We are going to discuss Mike Flanagan's horror series on Netflix. His first one, known as The Haunting of Hill House.
Now settle in, because we're going to take about an hour to review every episode. So we hope you didn't have Halloween plans.
Do you have like sort of like a brief synopsis for this entire series?
I do. This week's, or this day, this hallowed Halloween day scarenopsis is anonymous on IMDb, which of course
creepy.
Means that it phases through time like the bent-necked lady.
Explores a group of siblings who, as children, grew up in what would go on to become the most famous haunted house in the country. Now adults and forced back together in the face of tragedy, the family must confront the ghosts of their past, some of which still lurk in their minds, while others may actually be stalking the shadows of Hill House.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, real quick.
Yeah.
This is my second time watching Hill House. It was both of your first times. This is my favorite piece of horror media.
I think I've watched quite a bit of horror media. I mean, four horror films for our podcast this year. 4 horror films for our podcast. I've watched this show. I have watched Midnight Mass. As of the time that this releases, I will hopefully have finished The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Okay.
This is my favorite by a long shot. I think this one works the best out of any of them by a long shot.
Yeah. But Carter, it seems like you have a differing opinion on this show. And
No, I don't.
Oh.
I don't. I mean, yeah, it works the best. I just can't. I am too, I don't even know what to say. Emotionally fragile. I am too
precious.
Too precious. It is too long. It is. and again, hopefully you can understand this. I think the story that is being told needs to be told. I think that's what makes it so immersive.
Sure.
But I realize I don't want 10 hours of horror. I really don't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch any more of these shows because it messed me up. Like it was like effective, right? So
yeah.
It's a massive meal that I'll never forget. And though there's some high points in here, but I'm never going to try and eat that much again. I just really can't do it. I can't do long form horror. I've decided.
Okay, that's fair.
Because it is so effective. I was just found myself consistently waiting for the next thing to like jump out at me.
Yeah.
And
hey, that's a great segue into, I would say, the meanest jump scare I've ever seen in my life.
Completely. You're talking about when they're driving?
Yeah, when Nellie jumps out of the back seat.
The ghost of Nell jumps out of the back seat.
Oh
my gosh. I rocketed straight into the air about 6 feet, propelled by the clenching of my own butt cheeks. I just squirted myself into the sky like a squid.
There's just so many of them. There really are. There's so many in every episode. The chandelier falling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. What do we think is the scariest ghost? I'm really curious because I have a easy answer, scariest monster in this whole show.
I mean, the smiling man is pretty scary to look at.
Mr. Smiley is scary.
I think it's got to be bowler hat guy for me.
Yep. Who is just the really tall guy who floats with pulling himself on his cane. That's so scary.
It's really scary.
It's so spooky.
Yep.
It's so spooky, but I'll say this. Okay, we're going to be all out of order. It's a TV series. We'll get to hopefully most of the most important things to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm going to save episode, I believe it's 6 or 7. It's called Two Storms. I'm going to save discussion for that for a little bit if we can all agree to that.
Yeah. That's the single take episode.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about
5 shots.
The episode right before that, the Bent Neck Lady, has to be one of the most impressive hours of television, followed by maybe another one of the most impressive hours of television.
So you're going to have to remind me, I binged this hard. I didn't think I was going to get hooked, but I don't have episodes.
The Bent Neck Lady is the episode that is Nell's story.
Yeah.
Growing up, seeing this ghost of the Bent Neck Lady everywhere, her sleep paralysis. She finally meets, I think her husband's name was Arthur. She loses Arthur, begins to see the Bent Neck Lady again, and it ends with the reveal that the Bent Neck Lady is Nell falling through times, watching her own life again.
Yeah. My super pump for the series is that scene of the falling and then just seeing all the different stuff. I needed way more of that, though. Sure. I think that was the only big thing, and then discovering what the Red Room has been the whole time.
That blew my entire mind.
That is a massive payoff. That was one of the biggest payoffs I've had, like in a television show.
Yep.
And it seems like we're measuring it not only against horror stuff, but just all shows.
Sure. Yeah.
I've got a hot take on. This probably isn't even a top 15 show I've ever seen. Like,
Sure.
I really
Especially if
did
you're
not enjoy it nearly as much as y'all did. But like the payoff is too built up for me. And again, this is my own heart rate, right? Like there's physical things happening to me.
Sure.
That was like, this wasn't enough for me to have gone through all of this. Like really wasn't enough.
Yeah.
But Bent Neck Lady was such a part of my dream. So I'm in a new house and I haven't experienced it in cold weather and also haven't experienced it in high wind.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there,
So this
I'm
is a good
watching
time
all
for you.
of this at night because my wife can't watch this stuff with me. I would never want to have her do that. But like there's massive pops in the house and noises that are not familiar to me happening simultaneously with my first watch through of Scary One Tree Hill. It's like I was overwhelmed. So I had to sing myself through anytime I thought the Bent Neck Lady was going to be on screen, which means there was probably 50 run-throughs of this. And it's kind of like Row, Row, Row Your Boat. It's like created to just keep going.
Uh-huh.
But anytime there was Bent Neck Lady, I have a Bent Neck Lady track and a Theo track. Because every time Theo was about to take her gloves off, I was like, please don't. Because scary things happen when you take your gloves off. We'll do Bent Neck Lady now. But it goes like this. Bent Neck Lady, hovering above me, gonna eat my soul, scratch my face and eat my heart, maybe. What happens next? I just don't know, but what I do know now, it seems, is that you live in all my dreams. Bent Neck Lady, oh, Bent Neck. It just keeps going, because I was just like, what do I have to do?
Hey, I'm going to tell you this. That puts Row, Row, Row Your Boat to shame, Carter.
Row, row, row
And
your boat.
it's-
Who?
It's too much. It's not for me. It's not for me.
It's so
this
funny.
is a total love what you love thing.
I'm so glad that we're talking about this. I found a handful of moments in this show scary, but I have told so many people that I've recommended this show to, like, it's really not that scary. Don't worry about it.
Yes, you told me that.
I know.
Freaking
It just
jerk.
doesn't scare me that much.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that scary.
People.
No, talk
So
about
when I lived in the dorms, and there were just a lot of people around, word travels fast. Like I would have audiences of people who wanted to just watch me play like BioShock, which BioShock isn't the scariest game of all time,
No.
but it's because I can't help but just to be there. I am
Do I have a memory? Am I inventing this memory of you coming over to our house in college and playing like PT or Outlast or like watching
It was
us play PT
Outlast,
or Outlast
yes.
and being completely freaked out of your mind?
Yes, I just can't do it because so a brilliant thing about the way that this stupid show was shot is that the camera is moving so slow
Yeah.
and staying in one place for so long.
Yeah.
The zoom is slowed down. That's why in my mind, selfishly, I'm like, this could have been 30-minute episode. But there's 30 minutes of just being like, oh, what could be? Oh, and I'm just like looking at every corner and doing all this stuff. And you're just going to have to bleep this out because this is literally what happened on the chandelier. Because Dad's walking across the big lobby of Spooky Place. And the chandelier falls and I'm just like, I can't do it. It just broke. This show broke me. It's really good. Here's the thing. You're catching me also on the day after I thought there was only 8 episodes. So I was 8.5 episodes in, or 7.5 episodes in. No. You're right. Yeah. 8.5 episodes in, only to find out there were 2 more. And I look at the clock and it's like 10:30 p.m. I'm like, well, I can't not watch it all. So I'm halfway, like I'm like semi-conscious, but also incredibly conscious and incredibly scared.
That's my
But-
favorite Tom Hanks movie.
I want to make sure people know. I think this is a good show, and I think it's going to take me time. I think it's going to rise up in my all-time of shows rankings, especially in my horror story rankings.
After you decompress.
I just need to decompress.
Yeah, that's fair.
Absolutely. I feel
I've-
like
I've been
have
sitting on it
been
for about
an
2
international
weeks.
flight, and I've been told to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a 16-hour time change, and I'm having trouble coping. It's good. I said my super pump is that moment. My super pump of the whole series is that moment of Nellie falling through all of the different. Like that was amazing, and all
So
the
good.
callbacks and all the bows that we tie there
Yes.
throughout the episode, not even at the very end. And then my favorite character in every iteration is Theo. I think Theo is so fascinating.
I agree.
Yep.
And is
I
the
think
best
she's so
actor
good.
is across the board is
I agree.
Theo.
She
And I think that
is
the
like that
coolest
in,
role.
she's in Midnight Mass and Bly Manor, and she's the best actor. Well, actually, Midnight Mass, I think Hamish Linklater is. But
Hamish Linklater's best in Midnight
so
Mass.
Katie, I think her last name is pronounced Siegel, like Siegel.
Yeah.
That sounds right. She's married to Mike Flanagan. That's her husband. That's why she keeps getting cast in all these. No, I'm just kidding. She's fantastic.
the Helena Bonham Carter situation.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
She has earned
Frances
every minute of
McDermott
screen
situation.
screen time that she has. She is so good. And this
and
show
Emma,
is
the girl, not McKay. What's her name? Grace.
It is.
the
Is
young girl.
Yeah, the girl playing young Theo.
Yeah, I
she's
can't remember her name.
I mean, she's already having quite a career.
She's good, dude.
I don't even think she's 20 yet. But that was really done so well. And even her casting as the grown-up Theo, she looks like her mom.
I think all of
McKenna
the
Grace
cast,
is who you're thinking of.
McKenna Grace, yeah.
Yep.
all of
I think
the cast
Lulu
are
Wilson
believable
as young
families.
Shirley. Lulu Wilson as young Shirley was maybe the best casting in this whole show. Visually the best
Yeah.
casting. Yep.
I agree.
But really the casting in general, that was a
Is
strong
very
contender for
good.
my super pump was like
Very good.
even Henry Thomas and present day dad don't look that much alike, but they 100% look alike. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah, it was weird.
yeah.
I was out and then I was in.
all of the casting is absolutely phenomenal, and each of them look like they're related to all the others.
Agreed. If you had told me 5 years ago that the mom from Spy Kids was going to deliver a performance so harrowing and so powerful that I was going to think about it on a semi-regular basis,
Yeah.
I would not have believed you.
I've
And
always
yet-
thought she was great, but underappreciated, but great. She's unreal in this. It made me think of, honestly, there was that rumor going around for a while while Ben Affleck was still Batman, that she was rumored to play Catwoman
Right.
opposite him. Would have been a great cast for that. But she's very good in this.
She's unbelievable. And that's why my super pump for the whole series is just not casting like who plays who, but just the cast. Every performance
Yeah.
in this show, there is not a weak link in this main cast to me. I think
Are we including main cast like present day family
Present and
past
past.
family? Yeah. I
present
agree
and
completely.
past, every main cast member is amazing. The best acted scene in the whole series goes to Mr. Dudley in the basement
Yeah.
talking about his wife and his mom and like there.
Yeah.
That's like a almost 10-minute.
Yeah, he just goes.
So that is a thing with Mike Flanagan that I think he's gotten worse at.
Monologues?
It, like almost, I feel like 90% of the dialogue in Midnight Mass, his latest release, is soliloquies. Is
Yeah.
like stand center stage, the scene pauses, let me deliver this
I
speech directly to the
completely
audience.
agree. But
He's
I love it.
he's bad about doing soliloquies. Midnight
But
Mass
they're
is
so well
probably
written.
the worst I've ever heard in a show. But the soliloquies in this one are really good, and there's one in particular that I know we'll talk about later because it is one of my supers. You'll have to just stay tuned to figure out.
Oh, very interesting.
But yes, that scene with Mr. Dudley is very good.
Yeah, I find, so I want to talk soundtrack real quick, the sort of main Hill House theme that pops up everywhere. It's so
I think
well
it's
done.
the haunting theme because it's in Bly Manor too.
It is, yeah.
It's the same music. Yeah.
It's just so well done. I really like the soundtrack. Visually, I think that the design of our ghosts is very effective, very scary, very spooky. This show introduced me to Victoria Pedretti. Actually, it didn't. I thought it did, but she's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I didn't realize it. But
Oh,
yeah, she's one of the girls at the like encampment thing.
okay.
She's just so good.
Yeah, she's
Like-
very good in this.
Luke is amazing. I could go on about each individual person, so that's why I just
Older
have to sum
brother
it
is
up
my
with.
least favorite.
Agreed.
Like not just character. He's supposed to
Dario
kind of be
Naharis?
probably he's supposed to kind of be your least favorite
I agree.
Yeah.
sibling because he
Yeah.
is just oppressive and
Steven. Yeah.
yeah.
The oldest
I just
brother.
didn't
Yeah.
like him as an actor either, but
Um,
still good, just not
Yeah.
Elizabeth Reeser as Shirley. This is my favorite thing she's ever done.
What else has she done? What else do I know her from?
She's Esme Cullen.
No way.
Yeah,
The mom,
dude.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude. She's also in. I think we've talked about this. I think it's my favorite Christmas movie recently, The Family Stone.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of the sisters in The Family Stone.
Tons of Grey's Anatomy episodes. That's where
Is she?
I first saw her. Yeah.
Okay, she's really fantastic.
She's great in this. I mean, really, it's almost the Chris Farley thing from SNL. Like
Yeah.
we could point at any one thing and be like, "That's amazing," and then talk
Sure.
about it forever. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
Super dump. I need to
Go.
get it out.
3, 2, 1, go.
There is, and I'm trying to separate. It's interesting when you are critiquing a movie, it needs to be equal parts how you legitimately feel about it, and then somehow it's like you also want it to be good for other people.
Mhm.
I don't know how to describe this, but there is too many jumpy things. Like for me personally, like there were too many scares. I was thinking of the beginning of Hereditary, right up before it kind of becomes a movie we don't want it to be.
Sure.
And there we have a grieving family, right? That is all grieving together, and every now and then, like most of them get their time in the spotlight to tell you why they're grieving, what the dynamics are there. And we get a lot of that. That's some of the best parts of Haunting of Hill House is we have a very similar awful situation that's happening to this family. They're grieving. There's like legitimate hereditary. It feels like they even mention that it's like they just kind of pick up, like we get hints of Theo picking up these powers from her mom to be a part of whatever that leak is for the underworld or the other side. But there's just, I think because there were 10 episodes, the director said, okay, I need to have 3 memorable scares per episode. And I can get how people that love the story and love horror would eat that up because we do get all of these very visceral images of the several ghosts that live in this house. But it was too much. It felt like the things I don't like about it, about how it was like, okay, next scene, now they get scared.
Gotcha.
Next scene, okay, your turn to get scared. It was just too much. It was exhausting for me.
Makes sense.
And again, I would have preferred this a week at a time. I think if it was coming out and Netflix was doing it a new episode every week, that's great.
Sure.
But 10 hours in 2 weeks, and for me it was more like 10 hours in 4 days, was not how it's supposed to be watched. So I would not recommend that. I don't
I
think
know
it's a
you won't.
binge show.
See, I binged it. We binged it in like 2 sittings and loved
Not
it.
for me.
I did 10 hours in 3 days and was like, that's all? Man, I wish there was more.
This show was an instant click in the Wonders household. In fact, almost all of the things that you don't like about it, I really loved about. But that's okay. That's
Again, I also can't play Last of Us. I can't play
Sure,
all these
right.
things that you love because I'm not made for it.
I know that I have squandered my horror recommendation ability with you, but I really think for all the reasons you're saying that you would actually enjoy Midnight Mass a lot.
I was just thinking that. Midnight Mass is a monster movie.
It's also not scary, like
It's
virtually at all.
Yeah.
Give me time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can take your time.
Yeah. Watch it around Christmas.
It's a perfect time. Actually, it's kind of a weird. You go
Actually,
Easter.
watch it on
at
Easter. Yeah. Watch it
at
on
Easter.
Good Friday.
Yeah. So my super dump, while we're on the subject, my super dump is the ending just feels rushed to me in such a show that takes its time and sets up so many different things and just kind of knocks all the house of cards down at the very, very end.
Yeah.
Just like the actual like solution to the problem feels
It was like
rushed.
the last 25 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It felt like
Yeah.
it was the last half of a 10 episode
Now
show.
I am in this context, the happy ending of Stephen and his wife are back together and they're pregnant and they've clearly like gone and talked about all the stuff that dad encouraged Stephen to talk to her about. Like he took that lesson to heart, and Luke is celebrating 2 years sober, and Theo and I can't remember her name, the girl that she hooks up with, they've like gotten together because she was very patient with her, and Shirley and Kevin have worked things out. Like that makes me so happy at the end to see that, because for me, by the end, I had connected so much to these characters that like seeing the remaining Crane family children happy and doing okay was like very cathartic at the end for me.
Yeah.
But before that, prior to that, like the solution just being like, only the dead can open the door. Got to convince mom not to be crazy anymore. The only one that can do that is dad. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Give me a little more though. You know, now mom's episode setting up her descent into madness is really great. I just wish that maybe we had gotten.
Keeping them away or like wake them up, all that stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
The Red Room reveal.
Good.
Red Room reveal is absolutely wonderful. There's
It's actually murder backwards.
yeah, it's crazy.
That part's crazy.
It's crazy. It's some Dr. Sleep stuff. But no, the which is funny because Mike Flanagan did Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
There are a number of like big reveals we could talk about. I think that's something the show does well. Is it like kind of shines a light on things and then says, but there's more stuff over here you didn't even know you didn't know about yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the bent neck lady reveal coming halfway through the show is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place for that because there's still a bunch of other things like the Red Room mystery, save for the final episode, Luke's imaginary friend who I definitely thought was a dead person for most of this show until it was like, no, actually that's the Dudley's daughter. That's Abigail Dudley.
Yep.
She's a
Good
real
reveal.
person. Yeah. That's a fantastic reveal.
Yeah, the mix between it felt Sixth Sense-y. It's like
Yes,
what's real.
Totally. I think
Yeah.
the reveal that Steven actually saw a lot of horrible stuff and blocked it out
Yeah.
is pretty
The
powerful.
treehouse, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Just all around.
I
I
love
don't know.
the.
It's hard for me to narrow down. Like I particularly loved this thing because it's just I'm not really a binge boy.
Sure.
I kind of get tired after about 2 hours of watching something, and this is the first show in a long time.
I certainly wasn't tired.
First show in a long time that's been like, let's do like 4 tonight.
Yeah.
Let's do like 5 tonight.
The Red Room reveal, for me, the highlight of the Red Room reveal is the reveal that the spooky feet on the other side of the door when Shirley and Nell were trying to get in was Theo dancing.
Was Theo. Yeah.
Really
And
cool.
the person turning the doorknob on Theo was Shirley and Nell on the other. Like, it's so good, man.
Similar to the reveal that in the first episode when we see Elliot carry out his son, and there's like a monster turning the door,
Mhm.
that it's just mom.
Yep.
Like it's not mom's not even dead yet. It's just mom.
Regular mom.
That scene too of like barely getting to see her before you turn a corner.
Dude,
Yeah.
yeah.
If there's like somebody coming.
Yep.
No thanks. It's so good. It's very scary.
I'd like to spend a decent amount of time here. This will be probably a shorter episode than normal, but I'd like to spend a good chunk of time talking about the episode Two Storms, which is the back and forth in time. The whole episode is comprised of 5 total shots, making up 53 or something minutes of television.
Yes.
Um,
Unbelievable.
It is something worth talking about. But before that, are your super pumps relevant to this episode, Doge? Or do you want to get those out of the way?
2 stories. They're not relevant to that episode. While we're talking about wrapping things up, I do want to super pump the quote at the end from Nell. I love you completely and you love me the same. That's all. The rest is confetti. I think that is like among the most powerful soliloquies, if you want to call them that, among the most powerful like speeches, scenes that I've ever seen in anything.
Yeah.
Of people you didn't like that, Carter? What's your face?
There's this thing that I think simultaneously this podcast is good when we have differing opinions. And then I also feel like a lot of the times I'm learning more from hearing what you have to say. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm trying to groupthink meet you where you are.
Sure.
But this is the most I have been like kind of surprised at y'all's opinions about something. Because
Really?
it's one thing to like compare it to every other horror thing. But when you're saying like of anything,
yeah.
feels like you just left camp. And you're like, this was the best week of my life. Like I really can't, I'm not even close. I think it's the furthest I've been.
That's so interesting.
When
can
talking
tell.
about that. Because it's like, I'm happy to be here and say this was good. But to hear y'all say it's some of the best of stuff you've ever seen is,
I just think
That's
for
awesome.
whatever reason, that scene of
it was
them,
huge. I got really emotional. It was
them
awesome.
basically being like, hey, like I know that our last interaction sucked. And her being like, it doesn't matter. Like I know exactly who you are.
Her response to Shirley, specifically when she says, sorry, I didn't answer the phone. And she goes, but you did many times.
So many other times. Like it doesn't matter at all. I
No.
know exactly who you were. Everything else is confetti.
I don't know, man. I understand that this, it's not in the same caliber as something like Breaking Bad or Succession or things like that. But for me, it wouldn't take much arguing for me to say this is a top 10 TV show for me or like season
Same.
of television for me.
Same.
I love Nell's speech at the end. It's cheesy, but I love that the spirit of Nell is who rescues all of them from dying in the Red Room, that she keeps reaching out to them and going, no, not today. I don't know. I love it. I really do.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought that was super effective. That seems to be like, we get a character called Lisa who gives a pretty similar sentiment, delivers a similar sentiment to a character called Warren in Midnight Mass of like, Warren's like, if I'd known that was my last time interacting with them, I would have been different. And Lisa goes, they know. Don't worry about it. Like they know. They've known you your whole life. That's, I don't know, just something about that sentiment that's not often expressed.
It's very
and
good.
We often, in fiction, I feel like we mine that particular well for a lot of emotional payoff of like, oh, my last interaction was so sad and so whatever. And I like at least twice now that I've seen, Mike Flanagan has completely shut that down of like, don't waste time on that. Don't spend your time thinking that kind of thing. This person that you love loved you just as much as you love them.
They understand who you are.
They know exactly who you are. They're not judging you by your one final action with them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really beautiful. I think it's really well done.
Yeah, I think it was really well done.
Two storms.
Yeah.
One family.
One family. has to be one of the most impressive hours of television I have ever watched.
Completely agree.
It took them a month of dress rehearsals, and they shut down production for a month to film this. Took them a month of dress rehearsals, timing things out the way that they are. So when they are turning cameras and going from children to adults back and forth.
That's the one that completely shocked me.
They're hiding these kids behind plants and props and things and then running them out to swap places as the camera is turning.
That orbit shot when Dad first gets there and sees them as children and then sees them as adults. That's unbelievable.
They have made hyper-realistic cadavers of Nell and child Nell so that they can swap them in and out and have Nell go stand at the back as Bent Neck Lady. But in one of the early shots, so that she can sit up, she is actually there. So she had to change into her Bent Neck Lady makeup and costume in like minutes to get to the back of the room. And specifically walking down the hallway into the past.
That's I think the most impressive single take shot in this of how the sets are next to each other. Yeah.
It's so the opening, I think the first take is 16 minutes with everybody getting to the funeral
Did you have
home.
that moment, Carter, mostly, Jordan, you've already seen this. Mm-hmm. Carter, did you have that moment of like 5 or 6 minutes into this episode being like, wait,
they haven't cut?
I don't think they've cut yet. I think this has all been one thing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's one of my favorite things about long takes like that is being like, wait a second.
Hang on. Wait, we've been on this for a long time.
Rewind real quick.
Yeah.
That's such a Hitchcock thing too.
Yeah,
sure.
Had an entire movie that was one. I mean, they got creative ways like they're doing in this one to
like
do
Birdman.
one take. But I'm always down for something like that. It's really cool. You don't even need to read the trivia I think I didn't to kind of pick up on, and that's good. It was like a flex, but like a thoughtful flex. It was like we're going to do this because it's not just about being able to say we did this in one take. It made the storytelling more impactful.
I agree.
To just have it be that smooth transition.
This is the first time that our main cast is all together interacting.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It feels like it had feelings of It Chapter 2 or just It as an entire story, right? Yeah. It's like all the kids, everyone's haunted by this thing. Now we're coming back to kill the thing.
Totally.
And so I couldn't, I was very excited for that because it felt like the house will call them all. Like when it was just Dad and the eldest going out to find Luke, I was like, there's no way the girls aren't going to. Like I know that they're probably on their way. And that's what it needed to be. And so the movie is doing just about everything it needs to. I mean, the show is like this, the pace is enough subversion of expectations mixed with what you hoped would happen.
Yes.
That makes it a pretty good concoction of a story.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this episode, it would have been easy to abandon the like asynchronous storytelling that had been happening up to this point, but instead they almost doubled down and swapped back and forth even more between past and present.
Yeah.
For this episode, which is impressive considering the format.
Yeah.
It would have been very easy to go. For this one, it's just a bottle episode in the funeral home, but instead it's like 2 separate bottle episodes happening at the same time. I also think there's hot debate apparently between Hill House fans whether or not Luke is able to see Nell standing there at the end, because he definitely sees her at the burial.
Yeah.
But there's debate about whether or not he can see her standing at the end. I think that he can, is my
I do too.
vibe.
Yeah.
I think they wouldn't have spent so much time on the twin connection.
Exactly. It's a twin thing.
If he couldn't.
That's the point. Yeah.
His portrayal, I need to look up the actor who plays Luke. Oliver Jackson Cohen, his portrayal of addiction.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen Invisible Man, the new one?
No, he's the husband.
He's the Invisible Man.
Yeah. with Elizabeth Moss. That's actually on my list.
I mean, you haven't seen him either then, right?
Nice.
No, I've never seen him.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen him.
His voice credit.
Did
I
you?
can only hear
You
him.
saw Invisible Man?
It's very good.
Is he good in it?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that's a shock to me that it's good. It from the trailer vibes gave off big time stinker energy.
It's very, very good.
That's what I've heard.
It had some steam when it first came out, I remember. Like people were talking about
If
it.
you want to, I mean, now is the time. If y'all should go watch it if you haven't seen it. It's
Let's
worth
watch
it.
it tonight,
It's
actually.
the season for you to do that. I think you would really enjoy
That's
it.
true.
I'm not going to say it's the best movie I've ever seen, but it's a good scary movie.
I felt like a bit of a jab.
Yeah, I felt.
I hardly am ever in this role, by the way.
This is the only time you've ever been the lowest one? Revenge of the
No.
Sith.
Yes.
Star Wars Episode 3.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
doo-doo-
I think
doo-doo
Revenge of the
movie.
Sith is the only other time that Doge and I have been the two positive voices.
Yeah.
That's funny.
We're in the upside down, basically.
So it's just too. I don't want you to feel like you have to defend yourself. Obviously, love what you love, but like it's just too much. Like I'm trying to like, how does it compare with like a Hereditary or a Midsummer where all of us were like, that is too much?
Yeah, I just think it's too much for too long. And a lot of it though is what I need to be able to make clear too is my experience is the result of really effective filmmaking and storytelling.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's kind of maybe a story that's not for me that I had to do for the podcast is what it felt like, because it is really good. I'm glad that it happened. But for me, I'm probably manifesting 70% more scares than actually were there because of how tense I was the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, please stop showing me cadaver. Please stop showing dead bodies, because there's action happening over here on the left, but for some reason we've centered Nell's dead body. Well, okay. So when the coffin does finally fall, it's like, great, that was too much. It's like, why on earth would this roller coaster need to have the lights out? Who cares if I don't see?
Because Space Mountain
railing.
rules harder than anything you've ever
It's my
done.
favorite.
Yeah,
It's my
the
favorite.
best. So
Have you
my
been to
favorite.
Disney World,
But
Carter?
Space Mountain isn't 10 hours long.
I wish it was.
Can you imagine?
Just stop for
Yes, I
lunch
can.
midway through.
I've lived it. But yeah, everything that I am going through right now is the result of a good
Because
show.
it's well done. Yeah, I get that. It's the same with
Because it's well
Hereditary.
done.
The
I'm not
beginning is
pooping
so
on
horrific.
I haven't pooped on the acting. I haven't
Right.
pooped on the story.
Totally.
I've just said it's too scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
I've just said it's too scary for 10 hours.
Totally get it.
Too much.
That's so funny. That's very interesting. No, but I think your opinion is totally valid, and that's what makes scares so like horror
Good.
so
I'm glad I could stay on the podcast.
difficult because
Congrats, dude. Your opinion counts.
scares are so subjective.
They really are.
This is mild on scare. In fact, I have told people who are like big horror fans, I've been like, it's really not that scary. It's more of a drama, but it's really good. Like I've used that.
I mean,
to
we're in
pitch
the
this show.
exact inverse situation that we were in the first Chunktober when we reviewed It Follows. When you guys were both like, dude, it's so scary. It's so scary. Like, it's really good. And I was like, it's not scary. It's actually bad.
Yeah,
Like, it's so subjective. Anybody can be on any side.
Have we talked about, like, there are specific reasons to why I feel like some of this outside of just my persona, like why some of this is scarier to me. Have we talked about my first job that I ever had? I worked at a flower shop and I would deliver flowers, including all the small town funerals. And there were multiple times that I had to go in through the back, and I went through the embalming room.
Oh, no.
And there were dead bodies that I walked by. So there's like legitimate, like, I'm in an embalming room in this show, and we just keep coming back. I'm like, oh, great.
No.
Stop showing me. So it's like there's maybe a little bit more
There's like
spice
the haunting
for me.
The Haunting of Willis.
The haunting
Like,
of Will.
if they made a haunting of GameStop, my first job, that would be a very extra scary show for me. All the moms coming in like, Call of Duty's too spooky.
The one for me is The Haunting of IT at the Boys and Girls Club of East Texas.
Very good. Well, it's time to rate this show.
No, it's not. I haven't super dumped.
Oh,
Honestly,
Dang, dude.
think before you speak. You embarrassed yourself just now.
Wow.
No, I haven't super dumped because I'm having a hard time thinking.
yeah,
of one.
that's kind of what I was going to ask.
I liked so much of this. It's so hard to find a least favorite thing. I think I'm more in line with the feeling that the ending was rushed. But I think motivation from the house would have been helpful. Or maybe not the house, but just like some reason of like, why is this house cursed, and maybe we got that and I missed it, or some motivation of like, what do these ghosts, what's the benefit that scary flapper from the 20s, why is she convincing mom to kill her children? What is the benefit there? And it
because
might
she
be,
did it. It's the same thing that she did.
Right, but why did she do it?
Right.
Because she just was mad? Or did the house
she's
drive her crazy?
She's the crazy one. She's the one that lady was saying was in an asylum.
Absolutely. But did the house drive her to the point of madness? Is there something something happening at this house that has caused everybody to fall apart? You know what I mean?
That's a good question. So to clarify real quick though, Poppy married in.
Right.
Poppy was already in an asylum and then married into the Hill family.
Right.
So
but was there
my
something
read on it was that the house is like something in the house is allowing death and life to interact, because the only like bad presence it seems like is Poppy. The other presences are scary, but it doesn't seem like any of them
they're not bad.
Want anything bad.
Yeah.
Poppy's the only one that seems like what's the word I'm looking for here?
Harmful,
malevolent,
vindictive.
Malevolent. Yeah. Poppy's the only one that seems malevolent to me. The rest of them are spooky to look at, but like dude just wants his hat.
Yeah, totally. And he's so tall because in life he was made to feel small.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's I think what I'm saying is like I need some motive, some reason the house seems to be driving this.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And some reason the house is kind of calling them back. And maybe it's just we didn't process our trauma, so we have to go back to the house. But
right.
Yeah. Just a little bit of like, why is this happening? I think I could have used more of, but ultimately it doesn't affect my enjoyment of it. I think the why is it happening is because it's on TV and it's Halloween time outside.
Sure.
So that's why all this stuff is happening. You know what I mean? Like I don't really need it, but.
Sure. In that way, it kind of avoids the pitfall of something we might talk about in 48 hours.
It is so hard. Speaking of asynchronous time, I almost made a reference to the episode we just finished recording that nobody's heard yet except for us.
We are men out of time. And speaking of out of time, it is time to rate this show. We're going to do it on the scientific cinema scale as per usual. It goes a little something like this. The best thing we could ever say about, in this case,
I thought you were going to wrap
show.
it. It sounded like you were going to wrap it.
Well, my name
Sounds
is
something
Jordan,
like
and I'm here to
this.
say the best thing about TV shows this way. No, the best thing we can say about a TV show is own it, don't lend it, buy that poster. Next best thing is buy it. That's followed by rent it. Then stream it. After that is forget it. And last, but certainly least, the worst thing we could ever say about a TV show.
God hath forsaken us.
How do we want this to go? You want me to go first?
No, I can go first. I'll take the pressure off of you. I'm buying the poster. It's obvious. It's the
I got
best
no
thing in the
pressure.
whole world. No, it's not the best thing in the whole world, but it is really, really good. And I am buying the poster. I'm just so impressed with it. It has come up in conversations in the year since I watched it for the first time. I was so excited to watch it again. I love this. Easy poster.
So I'm going to buy it. I really am. And it's not because I'm getting pressured into doing so. I can see something
Just
and
like
be
we
like,
told
this
you to
is
say.
done really well, but it's not for me.
Right.
We talk so much about how movies are really our favorite form of art. And I think of walking through a gallery and just being like, hey, there's a reason this is at this museum. I don't need to spend much time here. You know, it's like, this just isn't for me, and it is for somebody. And one of the things that I will say that this does the best that I've ever seen, and I'll say specifically for the horror genre, is you could say every single Chunktober II movie, if there was a theme outside of it just being scary, is there is something about the manifestation of a structure as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And The Haunting of Hill House called its shot in the title and delivered the best I've ever seen. Because we have, if you want to review, Hereditary is very much about that home. We get models of that home. That was a big deal to Ari Aster. Midsummer, the structures, especially the church that we have there, is just when you look at it, you know it's evil. And then you go into it
a whole
and
town.
going into that shack.
Yeah.
And then going
The
over to the
sewers.
well, like these big structures that we have. And then obviously with us, we go back to a childhood home. So it was like, this is just something that is pretty recurring in horror, to just say, hey, the thing you live in is scary. And how scary is that? Because you probably live in a house too. And so Haunting of Hill House does that really well with a really strong cast. And it's a really well told story.
Yeah.
It's a buy for me.
Cool.
I'm going to buy the poster for The Haunting of Hill House. I think this does, and it's probably cheating because it's 10 hours long. I think it does characters better than any horror I've ever seen.
It definitely has that on its side for sure.
It has the room to do that, but I think that's why I like it so much, is because, like you said, Jordan, at the end of it, like we get that cheesy ending, of like everybody gets their happy ending, right? And almost everybody. But it is happy. It is a happy ending, right? Because the ghosts aren't bad. They're just people who aren't alive anymore. Everything else is confetti.
Mr. Dudley bringing his wife to the house to intentionally die inside the walls so they can stay together is a very interesting idea that they open up at the last minute.
I loved that ending.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think like this does characters so well that almost like the stuff that doesn't quite make sense or that's a little cheesy, it doesn't matter because I just want what's best for these characters that are just so well written. The fact that this is, we didn't even talk about that this is a very loose adaptation of the book, The Haunting of Hill House, which is like, they're not siblings, they're paranormal investigators. They come to stay overnight in this notorious haunted home. Like it is really, it's an adaptation in character names only.
And only some character names.
And only some character
names.
names.
Well, and Bly Manor is the turning of the screw.
Yes. Yeah.
Very
but it's
interesting.
just, I wonder if the next haunting show, because he's on the books for another haunting show. I wonder if that's going to be his adaptation of The Fall of the House of Usher. Because he's confirmed that that's his next project with Netflix.
Edgar Allan Poe?
Yeah.
What?
I wonder if he's adapting that into The Haunting of the House of Usher or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I hope he does the recurring cast thing. That seems to be what he's doing with the Haunting series is
It's very fun.
anthology style with the
And
cast.
even some Midnight Mass stuff too.
Yeah, there's
Get a lot of the same cast in Midnight Mass.
You noticed that Joe is Mr. Dudley, right?
Yeah, totally.
I didn't notice. It had been a year since I watched Hill House. I didn't notice until his breakdown in the trailer. Yeah.
With his beard, Joe, both in Hill House, or not Joe, Mr. Dudley in Hill House, Joe in Midnight Mass, looks exactly like our beautiful boy Rupert from Survivor.
Dude,
who loves fishing. He looks exactly like Rupert.
He sure does. The part where Mr. Dudley's like, "Who wrote down my name?" was very interesting.
When Mr. Dudley's like, "Elliot, I can't believe they did this to me."
Elliot. He calls him Elliot. Oh, man. Okay, well, happy Halloween. Happy HILLoween.
Happy HILLoween. Oh, my
Happy
God.
HILLoween.
To end.
I had an idea for the end.
Oh, yeah, no, you take it.
Can I have one more song for us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's about Theo's gloves.
Okay.
And I need some help from the audience.
Okay.
Can one of you, Jordan, could you give me kind of like a pretty consistent, like boom, dicky, boom, dicky, boom, dicky, boom. You know what I'm saying?
It's going to be really hard with.
This could be impossible with the
Never
Zoom
mind.
delay.
We don't have to do it. We don't have to do it. But think of it in that sense of like this kind of like campfire honky tonk type thing. But this is called Theo, Please Keep Your Gloves On. So
this is to end. We'll trail out on this. This is the end of our episode. We love you guys. Happy HILLoween.
Theo, won't you keep your pretty gloves on? Well, 'cause every time you take them off, all my happiness is gone. Won't you calm the coming storm and keep those fingers warm? Oh, Theo, won't you keep your pretty gloves on? And then it just keeps repeating. Theo, won't you keep your pretty gloves on? Well, 'cause every time you take them off, all my happiness is gone. Won't you calm the coming storm and keep those fingers warm? Oh, Theo, won't you keep your pretty gloves on? Theo, won't you keep your pretty gloves on? Well, 'cause every time you take them off, all my happiness is gone. Won't you calm the coming storm and keep those fingers warm? Oh, Theo, won't you keep your pretty gloves on? And then it just keeps repeating.